The Ghana Health Service says it is on full alert following the confirmation of 2 Lassa fever cases in Accra by the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwin, says checks at the country's borders will also be ramped up. According to the Ghana Health Service, a 40-year-old trader who was unwell for a period of 2 weeks died at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The second case is a contact of the fatal case and is currently on admission, but is very stable. So far, 56 contacts have been identified and are being followed up by the Ghana Health Service. Joining us live with more is the Director of Public Health, Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwin of the Ghana Health Service. Doc, I'm grateful for your time here. How deadly is the Lassa fever?
Hello, thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners and viewers. So last Lisa talked about the fatality of about 1%, but I think it depends on when you seek medical intervention. And I need to state that there's an antiviral agent that can be used to manage the case. So what is most important is the ability to diagnose it early, and then you can be able to get the best outcomes.
Do we know what is triggering the current cases being recorded in the country?
I think that the reservoir is around. There may be areas that we have it moving around. So it depends on the individual. Let me say that about 80% of persons who will be infected with Lassa fever will not show any clear symptoms of any severity, so they may not even go to a hospital. But this one is a case that the person gets the fever, and then went to the health facility, was seen as possible material, was managed, and then got better, and then went back, and then went on and on until she died. So this is a typical scenario or the cause of Lassa fever. So it presents like the fever, general body pains, malaise, and then we try to progress to headache, sore throat, dyspnea, difficulty breathing, eventually have facial swelling, and then the last end is when you start having the bleeding. So that is not common to have it, but you can have it as it happened in our first case that accidentally died. I need to state that it's actually a zoonotic condition that is the virus is in rats. So as the rat urinates or has droppings on your food, and you ingest, you get infected. And then in that case, the individual may also transmit it to another individual by way of exposure to your body fluids, including blood and other secretions.
So who is at risk of contracting this disease?
So far as I would say your environment is not that clean, that you are likely to have this the one which is the rat, then you are at risk, because usually it's like you have a leftover food, leave it in your kitchen, you go sleep, you come the next day, you don't know what's happening. You may have the rat coming onto that food, passing urine and droppings on it, and possibly you may not eat it properly. Then you ingest, you may get infection. Or let's say you have some mangoes, you just leave it in your kitchen, you go sleep, you come the next day, you just take the mango, you are not washing it properly. This may be also a source of the infection. So what's the most important is about the environmental cleanliness. It's very important in this scenario of Lassa fever. That's why we talk about making sure that your food is well closed. There are some instances that people have to keep cats to make sure that they catch this rat. So far as your environmental surroundings is not clean, very clean, and the rats may be coming in and out of your house, you are at risk.
So what it means is that we need to check how rats do frequent our homes. Is that it?
Yeah. So cleanliness is good, and then you see marketplaces, you need to do. You have all these pets walking around. So it's more of environmental management on a broad scale, and then in the home environment, making sure that you have environmental cleanliness to avoid this rats coming in and out of your house, because they may be the source of the infection.
If that's the case, then most of our marketplaces need to be targeted. What's the Ghana Health Service doing in that regard?
Oh, I think it's more of a local government, whole local government, environmental health issue. So it's a broader dimension that we need to look at, making sure that our environment is clean. So as I said, it's about environmental management, home cleanliness, to make sure that we get rid of the reservoir.
Okay, so once we know that is it, and of course it will be a collaboration between the Ghana Health Service and the local assemblies. We know that someone has died, 56 contacts have been traced. What have we done so far?
So from our point of view, what we are doing is that we are trying to identify more contacts. As I speak, we have 67 contacts. We'll keep on identifying more contacts because you need to understand the situation. We've also started some environmental assessment. We general service working together with veterinary services and wildlife to better understand the situation. So the issue is, where are the reservoirs? Those are things that we need to better understand to prevent it and avoid future occurrences.
So what are being done aside Accra? What are being done in the other regions to ensure that we are able
so
to
we
keep
had this
control?
meeting with all the regional directors on Saturday. So every region has activated their public health emergency management committees. The awareness is going, because you need to go down. So that people are aware of what are the possible symptoms of Lassa and how early they need to report. So those are things that we are doing. We're hoping to get it more on a broader scale, and we also push the agenda of the general environmental cleanup about that.
Doc, just before I let you go, can you please run us through the symptoms again, so that if someone is watching and is identifying something like that, we can quickly report?
So it's a fever, because it's a Lassa fever. So the fever, that's the first cardinal one. We have the general bodily pains, and you have what they call the general malaria. So those are the early things that may be presented. So if you're not careful, you think it's malaria. Then you may go on to have headache, sore throat, cough, difficulty in breathing, maybe have facial swelling. Those are the middle kind of symptoms. And then the end stage is the bleeding tendencies, whereby you'll be bleeding from your mouth, by way of vomiting, or bleeding from your inner region. So all sort of things, then the end, if not the best, may end up dying. So those are the cause of Lassa fever.
All right. Grateful to you, Dr. Hasiedu Bekwe, for joining us here. Now, moving on to Chiripone now. Police at the Chiripone in the Northeast region have arrested 10 suspects after a communal clash at Wencheke last week. Now, the clash was said to have occurred as a result of a chieftaincy disagreement between two Chokosi factions in the community. 4 people were killed and over 25 houses burnt, in addition to motorbikes and other properties. According to the National Disaster Management Organization, over 600 people have been displaced by the violence. Schools remain closed as the community is deserted. Speaking to JoyNews, the District Chief Executive, Hajia Zuweratu Nashiru, said the suspect had been remanded for 2 weeks to reappear in court. The DC assured that the suspect will be made to face the law if found guilty. My colleague Eliasu is traveling with the Northeast Regional Minister Yidana Zakaria and joins us live with more updates. Eliasu, grateful. What more can you tell us?
Well, Brice, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, has issued a very disturbing details in the aftermath of the conflict. And the NADMO is reporting that about 27 houses were burnt. We have 4 stores, 3 motorbikes, 3 tricycles, and 15 sheep. That is for the Wenchike community. When you go to the other communities, we have about 10 houses that were burnt, 1 motorbike. We have about 1 bicycle as well. So in Wenchike, we have about 358 people displaced as a result of the conflict. And in the Sako community, we have about 121 people displaced. And then we also understand that many more people have fled to the neighboring Yunyo district, and we have about 200 people currently who have fled the Sako and Wenchike communities to stay with family and relatives in the Yunyo district. We understand 4 persons have been confirmed dead, 5 people injured, including a security personnel, as we understand. And as we speak, there is an easy calm in that particular community. The security has been able to bring the situation somehow under control. And we understand the regional minister himself is on his way to the place to get first-hand information of what is happening in these communities.
Well, we understand some suspects have been picked up. Okay, tell us about these people who have been picked up.
Well, according to the district chief executive for the area, she confirmed that 10 people have been arrested, and according to her, they had been remanded by court for 2 weeks. So this is what we know about the arrest of the people. We are currently don't know their identity, but we understand there were those who were involved in this particular conflict.
Do we know the charges leveled against these suspects?
No, we don't know the charges for now, except that, like I said, they have been remanded to reappear in the next 2 weeks, and I'm sure that in this particular hearing, the charges will be read out to them.
Okay, let's now go to the phone. Go onto the phone lines now and speak to the DC for Chirepone Hajia Zueratu Nashiru. Grateful to you, ma'am, for joining us. We understand that the situation is quite getting out of control by the military. The security persons have been able to bring this under control. Do you know more about these suspects who've been picked up?
When you say know more about them, I don't know what you want to know.
Okay, we just want to know about these suspects who've been picked up.
Yes, so they were picked up as a result of what we went through in Wancheke. And it's all because they were found around as suspects of people who were, making phone calls and directing as to how people should come out and shoot each other. So it was based on that security arrested them. They have since been sent to Yendi, and they were arraigned and, put behind bars for 2 weeks. They are to reappear, I think, next month. So I do not have the details of what charges may be leveled against them, until they do the thorough interrogations. We will not know that.
We understand this started from a chieftaincy disagreement. Have we been able to get access to these factions to get to the bottom of this matter? Hello, ma. Okay, so we've been speaking to the DC for the Chirepone Assembly, Zueratu Hashiru. Now, we'll still keep an eye on that particular development to bring you any update we have in our subsequent bulletins. But moving on to other stories now. 3 bondholder groups are this morning set to hold a meeting with the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Joseph Akable joins us with more. Joe, what more can you tell us?
The Finance Ministry, I've just met Dr. Edwan, an MP of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. I mean, Doc, good morning. What brings you to the Finance Ministry this morning?
Well, this morning we've come as a coalition of individual bondholders groups made up of the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, the individual Bondholders Association of Ghana, and the Individual Bondholders Forum. The 3 of us, the groups, have come together as a coalition and to come today, send a delegation of about 6 people to come and meet the minister or whoever is there, the ministry, official of the Ministry of Finance, to find out why coupons that the minister said will be paid on the 21st, coupon and principal maturity value of bonds that has matured on the 6th that the minister promised it will be paid on the 21st. That is after the settlement day of 20th. We haven't had any information from the ministry, and therefore we have come to find out why the payment has not been made.
I mean, do we have a sense of how much we are looking at in terms of what's due now that has to be paid?
No, you can't see that. It's only the ministry who would have that, because now there are two bonds, the 6th one that has matured and the 20th one also has matured. But out of these two, you wouldn't know which individuals were part of it that were not tendered in. People have tendered in some parts. So if we are taking the 65% or so, that was the total that were restructured, there you can say that maybe about 35% of those bonds would be outstanding that has not been tendered in, and that is what government should find money to pay. And these bonds has matured, so you are paying coupon and you are paying the principal.
I mean, in the course of your agitation over the period here, you wanted exemption. Your main fear was the non-payments. The minister assured you and granted your non-exemption. Are you surprised that this has not been paid? And what do they make of what's happening now?
Well, everybody is worried that this payment has not been made. But we can't say that government is unable to pay until we meet the minister and then they tell us why. It may be some other reason that it's not the reason is not that they can't pay, but maybe some challenges. So until we meet the minister and we are told why the payment has not been made, then we will see whether it is government is unable to pay or otherwise.
So in terms of going into this meeting now, what is the main demand you are going in with, and what will you consider to be a good outcome once you come out?
No, we want the payment to be effected. And so if government say, well, I'm going to effect payment today or tomorrow or the next day, we are fine. We just want to make sure that this is going to be paid. The assurance was given, 21st, I will pay. And I think that if 21st you can't pay, or you couldn't do it on the 21st, it was only fair that same 21st you came out with a statement explaining why you couldn't make it on the 21st and assuring your investor that, look, I'm going to do this way, wait for me 1 or 2 days or 3 days, I'm resolving these issues so that I come and pay you. But if there is no information, then investors are worried that the time for you that you promised to pay, you haven't paid, and you haven't also told anybody why you haven't been able to pay.
Thank you very much, Doc. And so that is Dr. Edouard Anientwi there of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, and he explains that the 3 individual bondholder groups, what they are doing is that they are here this morning to hold a meeting with any official of the finance ministry that will be available, because there are some matured bonds that have not been paid, contrary to the assurance that they received from government about the payment of those bonds once the settlement date was due. And so that is the latest here from the finance ministry, where we will be pitching camp and waiting for that meeting to take place. It's supposed to take place at 10 a.m. And after that meeting, it's already past 10 a.m., but the meeting is here to start, but we expect it to take place sometime after. Then we'll know what the outcome will be, whether they'll get some responses as to when the payments will be done. For JoyNews, Joseph Akable.
For 3 years, 25-year-old Vincent Atobra could not eat or drink. This was because he accidentally drank caustic soda, which resulted in the burning of his throat. Thanks to a JoyNews report on his condition, Vincent has since undergone a successful surgery and is due to be discharged today. We'll hear from the medical doctor directly in charge of his case shortly. But first, here's a recap of his recovery story. Do you remember 25-year-old Vincent Atobra, the young man who could not eat or swallow because of an esophageal stricture? This happened after he accidentally consumed caustic soda at age 5.
India for tube moto cocoa
This was when we first met him. After telling his story, many of you came to his aid. From 1 cedi, 80 pesos to 1,000 Ghana cedis, our Momo account was awash with your kind support. One Mr. Bonsu contributed $3,000 and tech firm Comsys also paid 27,000 Ghana cedis towards his surgery. Today, Vincent has undergone surgery and is recuperating at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Dr. Innocent Ajamli is the lead surgeon on Vincent's case.
Monday, we sent him to the operating room. And as you know, his esophagus is damaged, or what we call gullet, the tube through which food passes when we swallow. That tube is damaged. So because of the caustic soda that he had drunk. So what we went basically to do is to reconstruct a new esophagus for him. And so what we did was we took a segment of his intestine, that is the large intestine, a segment of it. And then there is a way to tunnel it under the chest bone or the breastbone and then into the neck and reconnect it with the stump of the esophagus. And then the diseased esophagus, we removed it. Yes, so basically that's what we have done.
He says Vincent will be able to swallow again very soon.
And hopefully in about 8 days' time, he should be able to eat normally, just like any of us. Yes.
So 8 days from today or 8 days from when?
No, 8 days from today. It's usually 10 days from the day of surgery. And today is the second day after surgery. So 8 days from today, we'll ask him to start feeding through the mouth. Normal.
Joining us on Zoom is Dr. Innocent Ajamli of the National Cardiothoracic Center, Kolebu. Doc, grateful for joining us. We understand Vincent is being discharged today. Is he now able to eat like we all do?
Yes, so as from Friday last week, that is 3 days today, Vincent has been able to feed normally. So he's eating anything that he wants to eat without having to use the tube. And this morning, he'll be discharged home and come for review a couple of weeks later.
If you say he's able to eat whatever he likes, does that include banku and fufu like we're all able to eat if we want to?
Yeah, exactly so. Anything you can eat, he can also eat. So now he's free to eat any food that he would want to eat.
Anyway, it sounds some way for me because he started eating on Friday. I'm sure he started eating something that's like a little liquid-like. Has he tried eating rice balls or banku and he was okay?
Yes, so I know over the weekend he had some banku, had some rice, had some soup, and had some fish and so on. So he's good to go, just like you and I.
Wow. So what will happen once he's been discharged?
Yeah, so we would encourage him to eat any food that he wants to eat, but then he will keep the tube there on the tube that he had been shown earlier on the tummy. He will keep it there for about 4 weeks. So in about 4 weeks' time, we'll see him for review. And if there's no problem with the feeding, that is through the mouth, then the tube will be taken out. And that's it.
Oh, okay. So it means that today if we see him, he will still have that tube on him.
Yes, you still have the tube on him. You keep it for about 4 weeks. So when he comes for review in 4 weeks' time, and we examine and then there's no problem, he's feeding well, then, or there's no problem with the feeding because he's feeding perfectly well now, but then we just want to be very sure. So in 4 weeks when he comes, we assess and we think that he's excellently feeding, then the tube would be taken out.
Incredible. We'll come there to see him feed so we can update our viewers later on. But grateful to you, Dr. Ajamli, and to all your team who worked on this young man. Grateful. Now, out of the many plastic waste generated in Ghana, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology says only 10% is recycled. The remaining waste end up in the sea as debris, threatening not only marine life but also human livelihoods of coastal dwellers in Ghana. The most dangerous hazard this uncontrolled plastic waste is the exposure of toxins found in plastic waste which humans ingest. Richard Kojo takes a look at the phenomenon and its impact in a Hotline documentary titled A Sea of Plastics. Here are excerpts of that documentary.
Lydia Esia is a director for policy planning, monitoring and evaluation at the Ministry of Science, Environment and Technology. Lydia is worried about the environmental impact of the garbage that is dumped in the ocean.
There's also another report by the World Wildlife Foundation, which also indicates that averagely, an average person ingests into your system approximately 5 grams of plastics weekly. And to bring it home, the 5 grams of plastics can be likened to a credit card, the size of a credit card. On the average every week, that's the quantity of plastics that we inject into our system, because obviously the plastics have penetrated through our food chain. So you sit in Accra, you have your delicious fried rice and chicken and whatnot, and you think that, oh, I mean, the presentation is good, I cooked it well, there's nothing, but you have no idea the chemicals. Because of the ingestion of the plastics, we are having issues, or the effects of plastics is also being seen in terms of some human health issues that are confronting people. So the issue of obesity, the issue of fertility, people's, not having or having challenges to give birth because of the fact that the plastics are able to mutate the way the hormones are in our system and are able to interfere with the way the hormones operate.
The devastation that plastics are causing the fishing industry is far-reaching. Researchers have recently found alarming levels of plastics in the bellies of fishes, not in the ocean alone, but in Ghanaian lagoons too. Microplastics that end up in water bodies become even more difficult to manage because marine creatures ingest it.
Plastics being on the spawning grounds affects the life forms which the fishes lives on. Therefore, you may not have a lot of fish spawning in there, and therefore it affects the supply of fingerlings or other varieties to the ocean.
Professor Kofi Nyako is a country lead for Ocean Hub, an organization that's working to create an enabling environment for the integrated, challenge-led ocean governance research. Professor Nyako is sounding alarm bells on how the plastics and garbage in the ocean are affecting marine life and the general livelihood of fishes who depend on the ocean. Civil society organizations have been at the forefront of campaigns aimed at ridding the ocean of plastics and other garbage. One such organization is the Green Africa Youth Organization. Desmond Alunwa is co-founder of the Green Africa Youth Organization and the Africa Program Manager for the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives.
And we hopefully we will pilot this the first quarter of this year, water ATMs, where you go in, you slot your coin. Depending on how much you slot in, the water comes for you, and then you bottle up your bottle, and then you go away. And then when it finishes, you get to the next station, and then you do the same thing. I think that this is simple, and nobody is going to be taken out of business. If you want, you can still keep the person who was carrying the water sit by the dispenser, and that is okay.
Now, the full documentary airs tonight on the JoyNews channel at 8:30 p.m. Now, moving on to other stories now. Girls in the Upper East and Volta regions can now heave a sigh of relief as they will receive sanitary pads to aid their menstrual hygiene. Prices of sanitary pads have shot up in recent times, making it difficult for girls to buy. The Sylvia Lawson Foundation has been launched to aid vulnerable girls get sanitary pads for free. There's more in this report by Linda Dako.
In the cities where sanitary products and health experts are available for support, young women are expected to go through the period journey smoothly. But that cannot be guaranteed in the wake of the economic crisis that has worsened the living standards of many. The situation gets worse for girls in deprived rural areas who have often had it rough. These girls are unable to buy sanitary pads, therefore exposing them to various infections, which also takes a toll on their academic work. The situation is, however, set to change with the intervention of the Sylvia Foundation. Speaking to JoyNews at the launch of the foundation, the founder, Sylvia Lawson, had this to say.
There are a lot of challenges that the girl child faces. But this particular challenge is a challenge that they were born with. They don't have a choice but to menstruate. They can't decide when to menstruate and when not to menstruate. She'll go through it. So if she does not have the sanitary napkins, we have to step in. I believe there are a lot of people in their homes who also have that in their hearts. People want to do good, but they don't know how to channel that or what to do. Give us whatever support that can push us to achieve even the phase 1 of the 25,000 pads that we want to give out.
MCE for Tema West, Anna Adukwe-Addo, lauded the move and noted her outfit is poised to resolve issues related to the girl child.
This is a very important initiative that she has started. And, we all know that women or girls across the world have been marginalized. And this is one of the things that can also prevent them or make them also marginalized within the society. So I believe that it's a very good initiative, it's laudable, and we must all give her our necessary support. Women across the world has been marginalized. Education is key, healthcare is key. I normally go around, if I have the time, to educate girls that education is key in their life, to be well equipped as they grow, because as a woman, if you are not educated, to a large extent, it affects you.
For some students, here's how significant the intervention is.
I think this initiative by the Sylvia Lawson Foundation is a very innovative one, since it's going to go a long way to help the less privileged ones in the rural areas and also in developing areas. We pray that this initiative today is not only going to be for people around the ages of 15 to 20, but it's also going to help older women who don't even know how to use sanitary pads.
It's going to help the child. Girls that can't afford the pad, they can be able to come to school, won't miss classes, and won't indulge in other stuff to get pregnant, so that they can be future leaders of the country. So I think it's going to help a lot.
Linda Dako's report for JoyNews.
Just watching JoyNews Desk. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us. Let's take you to Nigeria now, where more results are expected shortly from Nigeria's tightest election since the end of military rule in 1999. So far, only one of the 36 state results has officially been declared, leading to growing frustration. The Electoral Commission has apologized for the unresponsiveness of the results viewing page on its website, saying a surge in use caused technical hitches. The delays are partly a result of the election continuing for a second day in parts of the country. The election on Saturday saw voting start several hours late in many areas and also attacks on some polling stations. More than 87 million people were eligible to take part, making it the biggest democratic exercise in Africa. The election has seen an unprecedented challenge to the two-party system that has dominated Nigeria for 24 years. Senior Lecturer, Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Dr. Asa Asante, has been analyzing how the election has panned out so far. He spoke on the AM show. Apologies for our inability to bring you that particular sound, but we'll bring you details of that in our Joy News today. Now, we'll take a break and bring you business, but just before, you can still follow whatever is happening in Nigeria on our website, myjoyonline.com. We have some comprehensive coverage of that election there for you. And join us at Joy News today again, where we take you to Nigeria for some live update on that particular election. We'll take a quick break now. We'll be back with business. Stay with us.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao, Executive Director, Wholesale and Investment Banking Division at GCB Bank. Sam Edu has charged practitioners in the financial market space to lead the charge in whipping up confidence in the financial markets by encouraging savings. This, he believes, would be crucial in boosting economic activities. He has been speaking at the handing over ceremony held by ACI Ghana Financial Markets Association. Here's more.
ACI Financial Markets Association Ghana, an affiliate of ACI International, is a leading association of regulated financial markets professionals. The group, which is committed to educating market participants and deepening collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, has held its handing over ceremony in Accra. Speaking at the ceremony, Executive Director, Wholesale and Investment Banking Division at GCB Bank, Sam Edu, urged practitioners in the wholesale financial market space to do all it takes to encourage private savings and inspire confidence in the fixed income market.
For us to see the growth in Ghana, it is the sum total of everybody's savings in Ghana that's going to drive it. So be it investment, because we lend on the back of the savings that we take from the market. Now we are faced with a situation where savings is being threatened. And what's going to happen? The long-term impact is that if we are not careful, and all of us in this room don't stand up and drive the thoughts around, the negative thoughts around savings back into a positive position, we'll be here, and in 3 years from now, we'll gather in a nice hotel again, but Ghana will be going down lower and lower the slippery slope. So I'd like to urge all of us that, notwithstanding the difficulty that we face as ACI, we should take it upon ourselves in many ways than one to bring back the broken the savings culture that we currently have in Ghana.
The newly sworn-in president of the association, Lawrence Osila-Jaboampong, encouraged members to uphold the highest standards in their service delivery.
It is our responsibility to support the government to ensure that the confidence is brought back to the markets in terms of the kind of pricing we show, in terms of the kind of information that we put out there as market participants is very critical. And so we believe that there's a lot that we can do as ACI Ghana to ensure that the right information is out there. And when the market sees that the information is coming from us, I believe that there's a lot more, it emphasizes the fact that there's a lot that the market can still do. And so we'll be calling on all members to do their very best to ensure that we support the market. Yeah.
He further called for deepening collaborations with stakeholders in the industry to ensure an improved sector.
We're looking forward to enhance collaboration with all stakeholders. We're looking at collaboration with our regulators, the Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, SEC. They've been supportive all these years, but we believe that there's a lot we can do together in these times, by supporting them. We're looking at collaboration from member institutions. This is a time for ACI to do more, because our mantra is a call to do more.
ACI Ghana has been a member of the ACI FMA International since 2013. The association boasts of a network which spans all the banks and a number of non-bank institutions.
Now, the University of Ghana Business School has signed an MOU with Access Pensions to support brilliant but needy students. According to the Dean, Professor Justice Baole, the deal will ease pressure on academic work and propel students to forge ahead to pursue their goals. He spoke to Joy Business at the signing event.
As part of the partnership, Access Pensions will commit 1 million cedis within 5 years to support students at the University of Ghana Business School. The company will support students with various training programs to help some students acquire skills. Professor Justice Bawule called for more support from other corporate institutions.
In the business school, we have students from all walks of life. Our admission criteria is based on performance, not where people come from. So you would find young people who have the grades that we are looking for. They make the 6th and the 7th and the 8th. That's what we take. They come in and then you realize that they have just been able to meet one of the 2 critical conditions. In other words, you should have the grades, but you should also be able to pay your fees. Unfortunately, when they come in and they are unable to pay their fees, then we struggle with them. So they come in, they are stranded, they cannot even concentrate on their studies. And many of them will typically come through offices asking personal support and what have you. And sometimes, unfortunately, some of them get taken advantage of. The university has a system, the University Financial Aid Office, that supports students. But you know, the University of Ghana, over 70,000 students. So you are looking at a drop in the ocean. So here in the business school, our students, as dean, one of the things that I'm looking out for is to be able to take out my own students and to take care of them, especially those that are needy. And that's why we keep going out to talk to corporate institutions to support us. Access Pension didn't wait for us to come. And the reason is that 2 of their most senior officers are alumni of our school, and they know what it is that we do here. On their 10th anniversary, they reached out to us and said, well, business, we know that you have this challenge. We want to provide some partnership so we can support.
Chief Financial Officer for Access Pensions, Matthew Mani, indicated that this is to bridge the gap between academia and industry.
Education is a great equalizer. You never know where the next talent is going to surface from. And the school has made us aware that there are many students in level 400, very promising, but hard to drop out. So we thought we could extend a gesture to help the university to assist such students. And also just not finance that, take them through training, in our corporate training, so by the time they come out, they are much more prepared to lead their own lives the way they want it to be. So our board made an announcement for that support last year on our 10th anniversary. And so today we've come to witness it. We are committing up to 1 million Ghana cedis over 5 years to the school. We intend to, as we get more financial resources, expand it to other faculties, because there are people in sociology, archaeology, psychology, all their work impacts society. There's School of Communication Studies also. Not only that, University of Ghana is a test case. We want to see if we could get to the other universities in the country. And in that vein, I want to encourage other corporate entities. The universities have room to receive more support. So there's opportunity to help them make change in people's lives. And at the end of the day, the whole society benefits.
Access Pension will annually present 250,000 Ghana cedis to the University of Ghana Business School.
All right, and that's it for business. The news continues after this break.
Now, his height made him famous in Ghana and beyond, but that came along with considerable pain. Suleiman Abdul Samed was diagnosed with a chronic ulcer as well as excess growth hormones. This made life unbearable for the 29-year-old man. Today, the Magdan Foundation has come to his aid in funding his medical treatment. My colleague Emmanuel Jivenu has more in the following report.
Gambaga was known to be a place of witches. The story of Auche or Auche has come to change the name absolutely to Gambaga to being the home of the tallest man.
He became known as the tallest man in Ghana
But that fame brought him pain and anguish.
My health condition is somehow not better. Not better at all, not even somehow. It's not better at all. The back of the ball in my back, and then my spinal cord, and then the growth hormone in me, my chronic ulcer, all of that, that made me not feel better.
Suleimana Abdul Samad was not born this tall. He woke up one day to realize he was growing taller and taller by the day. Awuche, as he is popularly known, was diagnosed with a rare endocrine disorder called acromegaly, which is caused by excess of growth hormone in the body.
It started just like a small wound like this, something like pompo, but pompo, yes. So it started that way, and then all of a sudden, the way I'm growing, the wound too is growing, but it will just get to a point that it goes. The wound will go. You see that all of a sudden it come back again, and then it started expanding. If I'm growing, the wound too is growing.
But every cloud has a silver lining. Awuche does not see his medical condition as a disadvantage. He believes God has a plan for him too.
God has never done a mistake in his creation. This is my condition. I see it in a different way, as a blessing, and then the other way as a sick person. I know I'm not fine. I'm a sick person, but the other way I see it as a blessing.
Now, how tall is the tallest man in Ghana? Could he be 7 feet or 8 feet tall?
The story of the 29-year-old went viral in 2021 when JoyNews reporter Nuruddin Mohammed visited Awuche in his village. That will change his life for good.
I made an appeal, a very big one, and then BBC came and covered me on that, and then a lot of media houses came to me, covered me on that, and then fortunately on my part, McDan hear it, and then seen it and then hear it, and said, I think this guy, I have to intervene and see how I can help.
My team in the north called me, and they know what I do. So they called me that, Uche has a problem, and his problem is lingering. And if we have the tallest man in the world who is having a problem, no one McDan can do. So I quickly called Kelvin, my foundation team, and Carlos to pay him a visit and see what we can do for him.
The McDan Foundation has come to Awuche's aid. The foundation committed to fully funding the medical treatment.
Having the tallest man in the world at your backyard is a big deal. If you ask me, it's a big deal.
A touching one there. And that's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Please do enjoy the rest of our shows. Good morning.